Tiny phones are a dying breed. These days, even phones meant to be regular sized are large. And even if we do get a smaller phone, it's often not as good as its bigger counterpart. Historically, Apple has offered two sizes, like last year's 11 Pro and Pro Max. This year, there are three sizes to choose from, including this teeny tiny 12 mini. Smaller than most phones in the market today, but just as powerful and feature-rich. But what's it like to use a small phone in 2020? And are there any trade-offs, like battery life? Hi, I'm MICHAELJOSH. You're watching GadgetMatch. This is our iPhone 12 mini review. I said it up top, but it bears repeating. The significance of the iPhone 12 mini is the fact that Apple intentionally created a smaller version of its iPhone 12 without compromising on specs and features. That said, if you've already seen my iPhone 12 review, my glowing recommendation also applies here. But while the experience is meant to be consistent across both devices, the smaller chassis of the 12 mini means three differentiating parts: screen, battery, and speakers. And these differences are what we'll focus on in this video. Whenever I work on a review, I try to cater it to the needs of the user that's most likely considering the phone that I'm reviewing. In the case of the 12 mini, I have a feeling that it's a different kind of user. Possibly someone holding on to an iPhone 8, the original iPhone SE, maybe even the iPhone 5S. I personally know some of these people, and trust me, it has nothing to do with gender, with height, or hand size. Some people just prefer smaller phones. Some are looking for a phone that can fit into the palm of their hands, others for something that can squeeze into their pockets. But how small is the iPhone 12 mini, really? The easiest way I could think of is to compare it to two of the smallest iPhones Apple has released in the last 5 years. This year's iPhone SE, which is a reincarnation of the iPhone 8, and the original iPhone SE, which too was a repackaged iPhone 5S. The new iPhone 12 mini falls right in the middle of these two phones. It's cute and petite. And yes, I'm still talking about the phone. But unlike these two iPhones, it doesn't have a large forehead and chin, meaning you still get a reasonably large 5.4-inch display. Because of this, the experience doesn't feel as limiting, the same way it did while using the 2020 iPhone SE. For example, I can see an entire post and its caption on Instagram. Much more text can fit onto a screen when reading web pages. I even wrote part of the script on the Mini, and even that wasn't much of a struggle. And while a big screen is definitely better for playing games and watching videos, it's got the same high-end OLED Super Retina XDR display as the 12 and 12 Pro. There's a lot that can be said about a phone this light and pocketable. I still pinch myself at the idea that a phone this small can pack all the goodness that one has come to expect from a 2020 flagship. It is unlike any other small phone that you can buy today. Because of its smaller size, it comes as no surprise that the iPhone 12 mini has a smaller battery versus the iPhone 12. Reports suggest that it has a 2,227 mAh battery compared to the iPhone 12's 2,815. I wouldn't necessarily pay attention to that number. Apple, for starters, doesn't declare it publicly. After all, its smaller display and the power efficiencies of the A14 Bionic chip are supposed to make up for it. That said, battery life on the iPhone 12 mini is average at best. Not as good as the iPhone 12. If you're a casual user who mostly uses the phone for messaging and a bit of social media, sure, the phone can last you till the end of the day. But heavy users are not gonna get far, especially with 5G turned on. Is it a deal breaker? No. In fact, I'd argue that someone who really spends a lot of time on their phone would want a bigger screen anyway. And the type of user that the Mini attracts is the kind that will most likely put their phones away unless necessary. Either way, if you expect to be out and about the entire day, you're better off packing a power bank. I personally am still hoping for MagSafe power banks. Imagine something this size. But that's not a thing, at least not yet. To get fast charging, Apple recommends their optional 20-watt charger, which you can get for $19. In my tests, charging times were almost exactly the same as the iPhone 12. 20% in 10 minutes, 55% in 30, 80% in an hour, and a full charge in 10 minutes shy of 2 hours. Just like the rest of the iPhone 12 series, the iPhone 12 mini also supports Apple's new $39 MagSafe charger, although charging speeds peak at 12 watts versus the 15 watts that you get on the rest of the iPhone 12 series. This most likely has to do with thermal design. It's a small phone, there's not much more you can squeeze into it anyway. That said, charging times were also pretty much the same. By the way, you don't need MagSafe to wirelessly charge your iPhone 12 and 12 mini. Any standard Qi charger will also work, albeit slower times should be expected. The 12 mini supports all existing MagSafe accessories and works with my current favorite accessory, the leather wallet, which fits exactly flush with the phone. Just like it did on my iPhone 12 Pro, it stayed put during the time that I used it. It's an accessory that I highly recommend. I'm sure teardowns, when they become available, will give us a better picture, but from the outside, you'll notice the iPhone 12 mini's downward-firing speaker grills have one less cutout on each side. I'm not sure if the speakers are smaller per se, but audio quality is indeed noticeably louder on the regular-sized iPhone 12. I don't see this as an issue. If you're like me and like to watch YouTube videos on the couch or in bed, audio quality is loud enough. Again, if you're all about gaming and an elevated movie watching experience, you'll probably want a larger screen anyway. And with that larger screen comes better speakers also. Like the regular-sized iPhone 12, the Mini has two cameras, a 12-megapixel wide-angle camera with an f1.6 lens, and a 12-megapixel ultra-wide-angle camera with a 120-degree field of view. The wide-angle lens is an upgrade, but software too has been improved, so you can do things like use night mode on all of the phone's cameras. If you've watched my iPhone 12 review, then you've already seen some photo and video samples, but don't worry, we've got more, shot specifically using the iPhone 12 mini. Let's start with the ultra-wide-angle camera. Most likely the same one that's on the iPhone 11, but now with Deep Fusion, Smart HDR3, and night mode. This first shot is a great example of Deep Fusion in action. Taking advantage of the iPhone 12's neural engine, you get so much more detail and texture. Shooting against the light like this can be tricky, and TBH, even my $3,000 Sony camera sometimes struggles. But thanks to machine learning, the iPhone understands the scene and knows how to properly expose the different parts of a photo. I took this next photo in Tribeca while searching for 5G, and then this one of the Oculus a bit further down the road. Shots like these make that ultra-wide-angle lens worth it. Previously, it was unusable at night, but now that you can get night mode on this camera, it makes it much more versatile across all shooting situations. The main wide-angle lens has a larger aperture, which means two things: shallower depth of field, and the ability to let in more light when shooting at night. But first, here are some samples during the day when it's bright and sunny, and then on a cloudy day when the sun decided to take a break. This portrait photo of me was taken after sunset with some mist creating a bit of haze. Not bad for these conditions. And finally, some night shots to see what low-light performance is really like. Look at all those creamy bokeh balls behind these cocktails and this delish bowl of lobster mac and cheese. Yum. The iPhone has come a long way in its ability to take photos at night. Look at how well it captures all the colors in this shot, and how despite the different color temperatures, the white balance is spot on. And finally, it was time to head home. I love how the shallow lens and the moving train creates an almost impressionist looking light painting. I was actually focusing on the red light, and that's sharp. Nothing here is blown out. And if you look closer, nothing too is particularly noisy. By the way, the iPhone 12 mini has the same size notched up front, which houses its true depth camera system. The only biometric way to unlock your phone is using Face ID, which is fast and secure. Also housed in that notch is a 12 megapixel selfie camera, and here are a few samples. So, is the iPhone 12 mini your gadget match? As an upgrade to the iPhone 11, the 12 and 12 mini have significant enough upgrades. The new A14 Bionic chip offers more power than what the everyday consumer needs, and the addition of 5G means that if you buy your phone today, you'll be future-proof for the next 3 to 5 years. While still made of glass, the front panel at least is more durable thanks to its flat design and ceramic shield top layer. But probably most important are the improvements to the camera, both in terms of hardware and software. I just love the size of the iPhone 12 mini, and I'm sure many of you will too. I'm thankful that Apple recognizes that this user base exists, and they're insistent that a smaller phone shouldn't mean subpar. The iPhone 12 mini lives up to that promise, and for that, it deserves the GadgetMatch seal of approval. And now for some buying advice. If you own an iPhone 5S, the original SE, or an iPhone 8 and have patiently been waiting for a small phone, now's the time to upgrade. If you're debating between the iPhone SE 2020 and the iPhone 12 mini, it's really no comparison. At $399, the iPhone SE is Apple's budget offering, a solid phone for its price. But there's so much more the iPhone 12 mini can do, but it's also almost double the price. So my advice is to buy what you can afford. If you own the iPhone XR and might be considering something smaller this year, just ask yourself if the battery life trade-offs are something that you can live with. I can also see iPhone 10 and XS users considering this phone, given that the iPhone 12 Pro is larger this year. Features-wise, this is a solid upgrade, but again, battery life may not be what you're used to. I've asked myself the same question, does battery life bother me? I guess in a way the answer is yes, especially for a $729 smartphone. It's fair to demand more. And yes, when I go back to my life on the road, this power user needs a phone with longer battery life. But that's what the iPhone 12 Pro Max is for. And I think at the end of the day, this might be the phone that I will want to use on the daily. That said, I fell in love with the 12 mini in the first few hours of using it, and that feeling hasn't changed. So much so that, call me crazy, I've already ordered a blue 12 mini and plan to be switching between this phone and this phone depending on what I need on the daily. What do you think about the iPhone 12 mini, and is it the phone for you? Let me know in the comments section below. We have another review video coming real soon of this phone. To make sure you don't miss that, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that bell notification so that you get notified as soon as we upload. Follow me on social media for all the behind the scenes fun stuff, including some snapshots taken using these phones. And as always, make GadgetMatch.com your daily habit. Until the next video, I'm MICHAELJOSH. Thanks for dropping by.